I actually saw what was described to me to be the biggest rake I've ever heard of come out of this portal at one point.
Do you gift them?
But anyway,
Oh, that's nice. See, I
they
like
had.
that.
She said one day
That's what I would do.
up the driveway come like 6 black SUVs, and out of these SUVs get people. Some are in plain clothes and some are wearing uniforms, military uniforms. And she said they tell her, now we're here because we're going to do we're with the military. They showed her ID, and we're going to do some investigation on your property. She didn't ask. They just told her they're going to do this. And she said some of them were wearing guns, and they had some of the guys in military uniforms actually had rifles with them. And so she said her husband wasn't home, so she didn't argue with him. And so they said, we're going to go right over there in that field, and these people own like 25 acres. We're going to set up over there, and we're going to be here for probably a week or so. So they go over and they set up. Later, her husband comes home, and he goes over and talks to him, and he comes back and said, well, they're not going to leave. And so they,
I heard
what was
that.
I trying to say?
Yeah, I don't
They,
I heard that.
my mind went blank what I was trying to think of that they did.
Sorry.
I know. I
Grant
asked her because I had read this NASA paper. So I asked her, I said, by chance, did any of these people have NASA ID? And she said, yeah, that's strange you'd ask because there was a woman with them who had an ID from NASA. And I said, well, they were here looking for a portal. And she claims, and I don't know why they would have told her this, but she claimed that before they left, they told her they actually found 2 portals on the property, but they wouldn't tell her where they were. She said she kind of already knew where one of them was because she saw the rake come out of one of them.
And from what I'm understanding, it's a magnetic disturbance because I went around their property with a compass and was getting variations and deviations.
Yeah.
But then I tried it again, like next trip down, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that they open and they close,
Well,
and whatever these things are coming up to their house.
They bring people from the past
yeah.
through them portals.
Can they? Well, nobody knows.
Well, they don't.
It's not thought to be from the past or the future. It's thought to be from other
They exist at the same time.
existences.
They exist. It's what they call a straight line
Where? Yeah.
time. We all exist at the same time. Even the ghosts that we see, that we say, "Oh, our house is haunted." No, those people are still in their time, and sometimes we kind of weave in between. We see them as ghosts, and they probably see us as ghosts. And that's one theory, but I don't know. All I know is
Yeah,
the
nobody
longer
knows.
I live, the weirder this stuff gets.
Right. But another way to look at it would be if you have, let's say you have 11 dimensions.
Yeah, I got
One of them's time, one of them's where we're at. Now you got 9 more over here that there are potentially other creatures that that we're not aware of. I mean, whatever they might be, Bigfoot or rakes or pugwudgies or you name it, any kind of cryptid live in these other I'm blanking out. I don't know what's wrong.
That's
here.
all right. I had a stroke about
20
years
I think
ago,
I just
so.
had one right now. But anyway, they, as he said, they kind of cross each other from time to time. And when they cross, that's when we get to see them or they get to see us. Now, the other part of that is, and I think there's something to this, a lot of people believe, specifically with Bigfoot, that they somehow know how to open and close these portals. And we don't. Now, the lady I told you about that told me about the portals, she seemed to have a way to get some information out of these people if she was telling me the truth, because she said that one of them told her that they are worried that other dimensions may try to weaponize the portals, and that's what they're trying to prevent.
What the hell's weaponizing me?
Or we're trying to weaponize, and they lied to her. But
Well, what was that one thing they had? There's a science fiction show where the soldiers
Sliders.
are
well,
going back and
Sliders was
forth.
one, and so was the one where they had the big ring
See, a lot of this
that
stuff,
dialed up a certain
Stargate.
Stargate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that might be it.
Outer Limits had that.
But then CERN over in Switzerland is actively working, opening
And there's
portals.
one of them in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Oak Ridge Laboratories
Right.
has one in Tennessee.
Right.
Remember H.G. Wells' Time Machine movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I do too.
I could watch it every
But
day.
he said there were 3 dimensions, I think.
Well, at
Well,
that
at
time,
that
yeah.
time when the book was written, that's their theory.
Right.
The future, the present, and the past
Oh yeah.
were the 3 that they came up
Yeah, those aren't really dimensions; those are times.
with. And I just thought,
But anyway, yeah,
I just hope they don't
yeah,
piss around with that shit.
yeah. I think that was
I don't like
that was science fiction. I mean, he made that up, and it was, you know, it's like
Or,
Star
or
Trek.
did
a
he?
lot of,
Or did he? Or did he
Well,
actually talk to somebody that's been
yeah.
through this
Right.
stuff? You know?
but like I said, the more recent thing within quantum physics is that they have mathematically identified, and I don't know how they do that. I'm not a mathematician. I
Yeah,
have
it's their math theory, all
a
math theory. Yeah.
fairly high level of math in college, but I'm not an expert. But they have identified mathematically 11 minimum of 11 other dimensions, and nobody knows for sure, at least that we know of, nobody knows for sure what's in those other dimensions. Are you videoing me?
Yes, I am.
Why are you doing this?
Because
she's
this,
gonna-
I might be on America's Most Wanted, you know.
What would be the reason?
Wouldn't be the first time, right?
Yeah.
What would be the reason to find out about them?
How what?
What good would it do us?
Well, it's not so much from what I was told, not what good it will do us. It's they're worried that there may be creatures of some kind, and a lot of people think now that the UFOs are interdimensional,
Mine.
that they're
Go
coming
ahead,
from
you-
other
I'm gonna set
dimensions.
my stuff up here.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
don't have
And
to run
that-
all the way out to the road.
Yeah, go
that that our military is trying to prevent these portals through dimensions from being used against us as a weapon. And I'll give you an example, and this is a long stretch, but you can go back. I've talked here about Jessica Jones. She's got a show called The Cryptid Huntress, and she did a show not too long ago where she gets some people on there that propose some pretty interesting theories. But in this case, they actually made the statement that CERN had destroyed our dimension like 20 years ago. And when it was first built, when they first fired it up, it actually destroyed our dimension. And they somehow were able to move everything we knew on Earth into another dimension. And that we no longer actually live in the dimension we lived in like 20 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds like science fiction.
I know, but I'm just saying
Kind of scary.
that's the kind of stuff though that makes you kind of, you know, you can either think it's crazy, which is what people thought about Bigfoot 30 or 40 years ago.
Is that like Horton Hears a Who?
Well, yeah.
Where there's a little flower, and there's another planet. Or
Some of
little,
that stuff is
And I, you know, on that particular thing, like on CERN, I'm probably not doing it justice. You would need to go back and watch some of her shows. You may not have heard of this, or you may have the, okay, now I'm blanking out again, Montauk Project. Are you familiar with the Montauk Project?
I know the island.
The Montauk Project was a time project, time travel.
no, that was
And there are some people alive, quite a few actually. So when they did Montauk,
That's
they
Bob
took
with the
mostly
pizza.
younger kids, teenagers, and they used them to do time travel experiments.
Does he need help?
And
Yeah,
they,
maybe. That's what I was just gonna say.
they
Okay, thank you.
no doubt.
somehow at the end of this project, not all of these people got away, so to speak, but those that did didn't. Their memories had been messed with somehow.
Yeah, I went there.
And now, after a few years, this all took place back in the 80s and 90s. But they're starting to get their memories back. And so she has had several of them on her show and interviewed them about things they're remembering. And some of the stuff that they remember is pretty scary stuff from what they did. Let me ask you this. Have you heard of the Philadelphia Project? So the Philadelphia Project was Nikola Tesla and Einstein were both involved in that. And they used capacitance.
Gotcha.
They use huge capacitors to mess with time, and they outfitted the ship named the Eldridge with capacitors, and they made it basically go invisible. Only the experiment kind of went bad, and when it became visible again, a lot of the crew were
Lowered
like
for privacy.
embedded in the steel bulkheads, and even the ones that didn't die immediately, they all died within a few years, or within like maybe 10 years.